We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Hi, welcome to the Wingmen Show. My name is Drew Brown. We hope to inspire, entertain, and learn something so we can all make this world a better place for our children. I'd like to introduce to you somebody who's my friend, my wingman, my main man, and I have a wingman watching my back, Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul, what's happening?
Oh, not much. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Thompson, and you just heard from Mr. Drew Brown, Dark Gable. He's the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. How are you doing today, Mr. Dark Gable?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad I'm full of knowledge, Paul. I'm glad I'm full of knowledge. Well, we're going to have a great show right now. Check this out. Dr. Paul, what a great show we have today.
Yes, this is going to be great. The sun is up. I'm up, and I'm glad that I was able to wake up.
Of course you're able to wake up. You're always going to be able to wake up. You know, you have to look at the glass half empty, half full. I came up with something that says it's dependent on how thirsty you are.
That's true. That's true.
So it's always full for me. You know, that's how I got to go. So anyway, good morning. And we have a great show today. I woke up. I'm excited. I'm going to get to go see my grandson this weekend. And I'm very excited about that. Drew Brown V. And I'm going to see my son and my daughter-in-law, who I refer to as my daughter. It's going to be a great time. I have a wingman. No, you have a wingman. But I wanted to tease it because this wingman, Dr. Paul, he must be a magician. You know, my son's a spine surgeon. I got to say my daughter's a lawyer also. But this guy is an alternative, even though he is a doctor. There's an alternative method that he has, and I've seen his magic work. So that's all I'm going to say. You like that?
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's a good lead in.
Good. I did my Peloton this morning. I did not work out, but I did Chelsea and I did meditation on my Shakti mat.
Okay.
So I did something, you know, I did something. So my Peloton came through. You know, I'm going to tell you an experience that happened to us. I got an email from podpage.com. It's just a quick story. And I sent it to you and you sent me back like, what's this? And I said, it's a bill that, you know, I've paid. Or I'm going to pay a reoccurring bill. And I thought it was for the podcast. And you told me, hey, no, we used it once. They were great, but we don't need it anymore. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that they had already charged me. I sent a small email to their customer service. They not only refunded my money, but they were kind enough to ask me if I just want to continue on a free basis. And I got to tell you something. I'll stick with podpage.com. And it's not a commercial. This is when people make you feel good to use their service. That's what I think the future is. I think the future is going to be customer service, just as important as price is. That's how I believe. So anyway,
yeah, I think you're right, because I went to Costco not long ago and getting some stuff. But before I went, I found some stuff that we never used and was sitting in the basement for maybe 5-6 years, hadn't been abused, and I took it. I said, well, you know, we're not using it, or I think I got the wrong thing, and it just never took it back. So just to see what happened, I took it back. They took it back with no problem. Look at my card.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, it was no problem. And of course, I went back and got some other stuff and spent 3 times as much at Costco.
100%. Look, we talk about it every show almost.
Yeah. That was great.
Oh, I'm going to give you an update on the Costco dog food thing.
Oh, yes.
I went yesterday, got 6 bags. No more sign, no more problem. Boom, boom, boom. We're good.
Good. Okay.
And on my way back from Costco, if you can see my arm, I am double boosted. I am double boosted, brother.
Okay. I get mine tomorrow.
I got my second COVID booster.
Yeah, I'm going to get mine tomorrow, about noon or so. No ill effects before, so I'll give it another shot again.
Yeah, and that's what she asked me. She said, you know, the same side effects. I said, I didn't really have any. She said, well, you probably won't have any again, and God bless it. So far, I haven't. But what are we going to do with this mask? The COVID is up, the masks go down. It's really confusing now. To me, COVID, people are still dying. And when I get on this plane to go see my grandson, I'm going to wear a mask.
Why not?
I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't know how else to say that. I really don't want to get sick and die. I've worked very hard to stabilize my diabetes. I've worked very hard to try to live a healthy lifestyle, and to compromise that with just being obstinate is just ridiculous. It just makes sense. Like, it's not even following the science. It's just following common sense at this point right now.
Yeah. Everybody makes your choice. I'm wearing my TSA, Transportation Security Administration hat here because the mandate went away yesterday. It was struck down. And I know a lot of pilots made the announcement, like, we're happy to make the announcement. You no longer have to wear a mask. It's voluntary. So a lot of people cheered. And if everybody stays okay, that's fine. But it'd be bad to get really sick because of it. So, I don't know. In a confined space, I'd keep it on too. When I'm out and about, I really don't like wearing a mask at all. If I'm in a room with somebody, whatever is small, I put it on for a few minutes. So I get outside, I take it off. That's what I do personally.
Well, I've been lax, but when I'm inside around people, I'm going to wear a mask. I'm just making it, but definitely on an airplane. You are definitely in a confined space, and somebody who is sick, you could possibly really get it. So
and the air conditioning system I'm going to make. Air conditioning systems are better, probably are better in an airplane than they are in a room. They
100% the filtering system.
But still, your flight's going to take you like an hour and like 11 minutes, so it's not going to kill you too much.
No, but I'm talking about somebody could be sitting next to you, talking to you. How you doing, homie?
That's how I caught the flu one time. This is many years ago. There was a guy behind me. He's just sneezing. And I ate some bad food, actually, so I was a little sick. In fact, I was going to Florida, and it's in the summertime. I'm getting there, and I'm feeling a little bit off like 2 hours later. Long story short, I'm coming down with the flu. I came back home 2 days later, and that flu was like getting hit by a truck. I was just out of it for like about 4 or 5 days. And this is 25 years ago, a lot younger. And it was really something. He was sneezing, and I ate some bad food, and I was sick, and my immune system was low, and the infection was in. It took just a minute. I remember I never saw him. He was behind me, just sneezing.
Wow.
On a flight to Orlando for an hour. It was like an hour flight from Memphis to Orlando.
I'm gonna predict in 20 years, we're gonna say the same thing about COVID. It's just gonna be something that you could catch. You're going to get inoculated for maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years, who knows? And it's going to be a story just like you said, because the flu is still out there and the flu can kill you.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you something, Doc. You notice when we were growing up, certain types of people, and I mean cultures, tended to do business in certain areas, like especially, part of my culture, my Jewish culture, they kind of cornered the diamond district and the clothing district in Manhattan. And I noticed now the Koreans, they have cornered the hair market in all the black neighborhoods for sure. There are whatever beauty salon supply stores there are, they're usually run by Koreans. And then, we travel a lot, and most of those smaller hotels are run by Indians from India. I just didn't understand why they tended to do that. Maybe you have an answer, Doc.
I think it's a combination of things. One is that, groups come to the U.S. and perhaps they know someone or they get involved with the community, their like community, and it's a business someone is already in. And they more likely kind of spread that. Hey, this is an entry. This is what you can do. And they form that way. A lot of people dominate. For example, in a lot of places now, I've noticed in the last just few years, a lot of cab drivers are from, Eritrea. I don't know why that is. A lot of them are from Eritrea, Atlanta and Minneapolis and a few other places.
Or a lot of Ethiopians in New York cab drivers.
Yes, that, or they're involved in the parking maybe a parking deck thing. Sometimes these are small things, not necessarily cutting edge, take over Google kind of stuff. It can be, mom and pop stores. You were talking about bodega yesterday.
Yeah,
The term
the
bodega,
bodegas.
which is really it's a Spanish term. But a lot of people, on the East Coast, just use that as a general. Used to call them grocery stores.
Corner store. Usually
on the corner. Yeah, it's
a corner store. Yeah.
This bodega, I think that's more from the Latin influence on things.
That
But they still
I
say
grew up in
the same
Spanish
stuff.
Harlem, but they didn't call them bodegas then.
No. Yeah, they talk about bodegas in Queens. I say, what? A friend of mine grew up with these stuff. Talk about the bodega. Ain't no bodega in Queens. I would think about Harlem too, but now that's ubiquitous.
And
It's
most
all
of the Middle Eastern families own the bodegas now. It used to be Asian.
True.
A lot of Middle Eastern in bodegas and small grocery.
True.
Well, what I think the reason is that they're immigrants. All of us are immigrants. All of us are immigrants. We all came from Africa, but past that, there were different stops on the way for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But we're immigrants. And when you came here, you knew somebody, and that somebody was making the person who was making a living was doing a certain thing. And if they brought you in and trained you, then you did it. And usually, if this person was good, they would get that marketing name. So it worked. And then when you brought somebody in and on and on and on, and that was what you knew. Like when you came here from India, if an Indian family brought you here, you came in the hotel business. What else would you know?
Yeah. An example might be, walking on Nathan Road in Hong Kong. How many times have someone tried to sell you a watch, copy watch? Until, where were they from? And then more than likely, I was told that those guys come in and they have to do that for a while until they can move up to the other level. But they have to bug people like you to say copy watch in a suit, take a look, have a look, take a look. How many times do you hear that?
Goodness.
About 40,000 times. And it's the same.
Very aggressive selling in Hong Kong.
Yeah, very aggressive. It's just this is a 2-block area. It's not everywhere. It's about a 2-block area, and then it's zero.
That's true.
Especially if a Navy ship pulls in, then you don't see him because all the sailors are buying stuff. And that's the only time you'll be left alone because that they've hit the lottery that day.
That's right. Well, thinking about that, that's a good lead into, we grew up where we could have been raised and we could have been in thug life.
Yes.
But instead of thug life, and you came up with this, Dr. Paul, the author, you came up with this instead of thug life, we came up with ship life.
Yes.
And so this is the little subject. What'd you think about living out on an aircraft carrier for months at a time, serving your country? That's why I have the American flag back here. Right. Nobody better say shit to me about anything. I put my life on the line. You put your life on the line. A lot of people have done that for this country. I'm very proud to be an American. And I want to say this also. I am not a hyphenated American. This is my land. America doesn't mean white. It means free. Land of the free, home of the brave, I heard. And so I'm both, you're both. And, I'm a free person. And I'm going to see Drew Brown V. And, I grew up with Muhammad Ali with the name change. Like, this is a slave name. And I thought that was very offensive. I am so proud to be Drew Brown III. And my father wasn't a slave, so nobody made him name me after him. And his father wasn't a slave, so nobody made him. And I think it's one of the greatest things I have. I come from a group of people who were slaves. Do you understand? Who were slaves in this country. And my president, Barack Obama, just showed them that the glass ceiling is over. It was hard for us. It was hard as hell, but that made us better people. So I know I went off on a little tangent there, but tell me about ship life, Dr. Paul.
Okay, you best remember, enslaved people were something else before they were enslaved.
Right.
You give that a little bit of thought.
Oh, that's right. Okay, no. Why don't you make sure that you say what you want to say? We were not slaves, and I shouldn't have said that. I misspoke. Dr. Paul has taught me and many others that people are enslaved. That's not a noun for them. So a free person can still be enslaved. Sorry,
Yeah,
Doc.
yeah. This is a subtle difference, but
No, it's important.
huge difference. Yeah, huge
Hey,
difference.
you know what? When you grow up and you learn that you're wrong, you admit it and move the hell on. Who hell cares? There is no scoreboard in the sky. Drew, you were wrong 6 times today.
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
you were right. And every time I'm wrong, I learn something.
Yeah. You talk about ship life, living on a carrier is interesting. I thought about it this morning as I was taking a shower. I got a little shower story. But Thug Life stands for? Thug Life stands for the hate you give little infants, which means something else, profanity.
FUC.
Everybody. It's an album.
That was a movie. I saw it.
Right. Yeah. The hate you give little infants, everybody. Anyway, a little bit.
But that doesn't give you, I wouldn't tattoo that on my chest either. I wouldn't tattoo Ship Life, Thug Life, or Drew on my stomach.
I'm not a tattoo person. If somebody has a phrase, put it on a Post-it note and put it on a refrigerator. Put it on your iPhone. That's just me. Anyway, I thought about this morning, living on a ship. Again, the first ship I was on doesn't exist anymore. They made it razor blades 10 years ago. But I appreciate water.
What was the name of that ship?
It was the USS Saratoga.
The Sarah.
I believe it was dismantled in 2012 or 2014. It was dismantled in Texas. It's you're shaving with it now. But anyway, one of the things I appreciate was when I took a shower this morning was be able to take a shower this morning. On some of the older ships, now they don't have that problem, but there was no fresh water. They had to pump aboard fresh water. So you had a certain supply. So if you took a shower or whatever, you call it a Navy shower. I think it's only supposed to go 2 to 3 minutes maximum. There wasn't that much water.
Why don't you explain what a Navy shower is?
A Navy shower is using the minimum amount of water, wet yourself up, apply soap, no water flow, and then wet yourself down. Done. Amount of water, just the minimum amount of water. And this morning was it was only a Navy shower because I was running behind on time. But there was one time I was doing it, and I said one day, I'm just going to have a long shower, and I did it, and I was kind of by myself. But there was a commanding officer, one of the squadrons who was nearby, I didn't see, and he just banged on my stall. Said, too long, shipmate, too long. I still remember that. I remember, this is 40 plus years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Too long. We don't have that much water. I said, yes, sir. What? And I stopped. I thought about that this morning.
Wow.
20 minutes ago. So, that ship was limited water, and the water system was linked up with the fuel supply system. Sometimes they would get mixed up, and maybe that's why I'm crazy now, but sometimes we were drinking jet fuel.
No doubt.
The engineering wasn't that great. The next ship, they had a desalination plant where they made their own water. There was no limit.
What was that ship?
That was the John F. Kennedy, and that is, I think it's in dry dock, and I think it's either going to be a museum or dismantled or sunk and made a reef or something. So it was very, 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 very different. They didn't seem to care. I never heard that. But that first time, there's a couple of times on that first cruise, they ran out of water. There's no fresh water, which is, you're still drinking some stuff made out of who knows what. And there's vapors coming off of ice cubes. There's vapors coming off of stuff. It's mixed with the fuel. And you drink a little bit. How about bread? Well, that's made with water. So we're doing.
You don't have much of a choice when you're out in the middle of the ocean. It's not like you can go ahead and get organic if you wanted to. Go get some life water.
Yeah. Think about being on a luxury liner without the luxury.
Well, they told us, and it's true, every nut and bolt on an aircraft carrier or any Navy ship is made for war. And when you go on a luxury liner, every nut and bolt is made for comfort. Yes. It is totally different. My little story about the carriers is, the first time I saw an aircraft carrier, I landed on one, or I attempted to land on one my first time. I went around and came back and landed. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But I was on the USS Nimitz, and that was a nuclear carrier. And I did 9 months on that. I did 6 months on that. And I did a North Atlantic cruise on that. So I did like 3 cruises on that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's totally different than what you just said with the water, because nuclear carriers make their own water. Now, we used to be jealous of carriers like the Saratoga and older ships because you'd have to go to port. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. You'd have to dock. A nuclear carrier can stay their ass out there forever, it seems like. We don't ever have to go to port. You know, a ship will come and give us supplies, but we don't need fuel.
I think they can go for like 5 years or more, 5 to 15 years, nonstop.
It felt like it. When you're out there and you do a 9-month cruise, I'm not lying. When you out there 6, 7, 8 weeks and you don't know when you're going in, it's like you're in a ready state anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
So the shower thing is just so funny. God bless it. I've been blessed. I have a steam room in my shower today, and I took a steam and a shower, and it's exactly the opposite that went through my mind, because on my ship, my first cruise, a guy died in the shower because the hot water was so goddamn hot. Some reason the cold water got turned off and he got trapped in the shower and burned to death.
Wow.
He was scalded to death.
Wow.
That's how hot nuclear water is. It is very dangerous when you start turning on hot water on an aircraft carrier named the USS Nimitz.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yes, it was a horrible way. It's just funny. Like, I thought about that when all that steam was coming out. I was like, dang, I hope, like, I don't get locked in here. Just kidding. But ship life to me, it was so interesting. In the beginning, it was like fantastic. When I did my first workup cruise and went down to St. Thomas, I love St. Thomas so much. Katrina and I moved there for 10 years. But I really enjoyed being out there. Some of the good things were in the middle of the night or something. You could just go out on the fantail and look out there. And it was truly God's world.
Yeah. Stars, and it's quiet. Yeah, it's different. It's kind of like, it's different than being out in the country. It's similar, but it's something different about it. Maybe
it's way different. You're moving, first of all, and that plankton behind the ship is churning and it's fluorescent. So it's lighting up the ocean behind you as it flows behind you. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. I enjoyed that. Then it gets old after a while. Matter of fact, I forgot how many weeks it was, but after a certain amount of weeks, they actually gave you 2 beers.
Okay. We never got
If you were out there like 7 weeks or 6 weeks at a time, everybody got 2 beers. So everybody tried to find people who didn't drink beer to get their beers. Anyway, the cruise I took was a 6-pack cruise. That means there was 3 instances we didn't go into port for 2 months at a time, probably.
That's a long time at sea. Yeah,
and I don't know how they do it now. Maybe you can answer this. Do they do FaceTime now at sea?
I don't know, but I know they have.
If you have computers, do you have Wi-Fi?
I think so. I think I've seen videos of folks doing that. They let them do that.
It's funny because the most important thing in the world was the mail.
Yes,
was a letter from home. My mother, God bless her, wrote me every day, almost every day. And it was the greatest time in the world to see that card come aboard with the mail.
Yeah. And the worst time was if you're getting mail from another ship and the mail bag, it broke when they're transiting and it falls into
the water. You saw that?
One time.
I saw a tomcat blow a mail bag overboard. He turned too fast. He wasn't listening to his plane captain, and his exhaust blew a goddamn mail. And when you didn't get mail, it didn't matter. Right. My letter was in there.
Right. Yeah, that was disheartening when it would happen. It happened a couple of times. So, wow. Yeah, the little things, because you're basically you're in a different city and you're in a different country.
Yes.
The commander of the ship is basically kind of the mayor and the governor at the same time, and represents the president literally. And you have all the other little subgroups below it. So you really are. You're on a floating big city, I would say.
A dictatorship, actually.
Dictatorship.
Whatever the captain says goes.
Yeah, you got jail. You can watch a movie. You get everything.
You know what was great though when you were out at sea for a long time, because we were pilots, we got to fly.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And man, some good ass flying out there in the ocean. I'm not kidding.
Question.
You get to drop things and do things that you're just not able to do back home. So I saw a couple things on the ship. One of them really sticks out when I saw some guys dying in the airplane. And that just brings me to a story. Ronaldo, the famed soccer player, was supposed to have twins, and only his baby girl was alive. So he lost his son. And we were talking about that. That's a tragic thing. And we were talking about, we want this show to uplift people and maybe share our experiences with people. And so I want to share my experience about death, because it's important. I was very blessed that my dad really taught me about it. I mean, it just made sense what he told me. I love my dad so much, and we were just so close. I hated when he said, you're going to have other fathers. I used to go crazy. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Well, once again, he was right. A lot of men have looked after his son. So anyway, my dad one day came and said, hey, son, if my finger got cut off, would you love me any less? And I'm like looking at him like, what kind of question? Because he'd do it all the time. No, Dad, I wouldn't love you any less. He said, what about my hand? No, Dad, I wouldn't love you any less. He said, what about both arms? Dad, what are you talking about? Well, would you love me? No, I would not love you any less. He said, both arms, both legs. What are you talking about? He said, what part of me has to go when you stop loving me? He said, son, I got to tell you something. I won't ever leave you. I promise you, son, I won't ever leave you. When this body goes, you could chop my ass up in 1,000 pieces and throw me in the Mississippi River, because if you have a funeral, I will not be attending. And I took that to heart, because when they put that box that they so-called had my father's body in, just like, he used to get haircuts. I get haircuts. It's on the floor. It's gone. But anyway, when they put that box in the ground, it meant zero to me, because that was not my father. And it just made sense. You can't put my daddy under no dirt. So I always think of this, and it's hard when your parents die. It's hard when anybody dies. But I always think, and Daddy taught me this, my mother taught me this, what would that person do if they saw you in such pain? I mean, you can really, I've seen tragedy and people go through a lot of pain. And the last thing I want for my children is to be in that kind of pain. I'm good. I'm with you. I ain't leaving you. The body comes and goes. Right. So that's how I deal with death. Now, I'll be honest with you. I really don't go to funerals. I don't believe in all that. A guy did ask me to come to his funeral, and I did go out of respect. And when my best friend died 4 or 5 years ago, Footy from Harlem, I went to his funeral, and then we just had a tragedy. My really good friend, Gary Prince, died. Tragically, a car ran over him for no reason, an old woman parking her Bentley. So I've had to deal with death. I don't like it. And I guess I will end it with this. My dogs, as much as I love them, when their time is up, it's real hard. And the way I deal with that is get another dog. So that's enough for me on death. What do you think, Dr. Paul?
Yeah, it's a difficult phase as I get older. I guess I've been to like a kind of a steady diet of funerals, memorial services, either for somebody I knew or close to somebody else that I'm close to. Just in the last few years, it's standard. And I guess I'm at the age that my parents were when they were kind of doing this when I was younger. Well, I'm going to this, I'm going to that, and I'm thinking about just going out to hang out to do something. But I kind of had it in the back of my mind a little bit as a teenager or 20s, a little bit. And now it's a little more steady when there are playmates and friends and coworkers and people you just talked to last week that are not here. So the fact that you can get up this morning and do a push-up or get out of bed, that's why I say I'm glad to be here. Get your steam in, and now you didn't get electrocuted. You're you're doing okay. You're doing okay. And I think of good things. There was something that my old pastor said that I thought was very, very profound. And I think about it all the time. And it went like this: live until you die, but don't die while you're still living. Live until you die, but don't die while you're still living in your head. And that kind of goes along with what your daddy was telling you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Very well. Yeah, that's profound and something to think of. So when you're feeling sad and out, think about that. Live until you die, but don't die while you're still living, because we're talking about it now. You're talking about being depressed right now. Don't die right now. I think there's a great lesson in that.
Yes, and matter of fact, that gives me a good PSA. This is a Wingman PSA. Anything that stops growing starts dying. Anything that stops growing starts dying. Continue to learn, continue to make yourself better, continue to be open-minded and willing to change. This is a Wingman PSA.
Excellent.
There you go, Dr. Paul. What do you think about that?
I agree.
Okay. We've been talking a lot of stuff. I just want to give a little financial tip. The Mustangs, the new electric Mustangs, they are sold out. You can't even get a Mustang. And we talked a little bit, and this is just a little investing thing. Microchips. First of all, there's a big shortage on chips. Okay. Electric vehicles are starting to be sold out. This is the time to maybe get some advice, do some studying, do some research, and get into the solar energy, the microchip business. And how come we haven't found a way to get microchips better than always getting them from China?
China, you get a lot from Taiwan, not just mainland China. I think most come from.
I should have said Asia is what I really
Asia,
meant.
yeah. Now, you're dependent on it. I think they're building a couple of big chip manufacturing places, and I think in Arizona and perhaps Illinois. I think I'm right about one of those. So, again, so much stuff has been offshored that this country and other countries are really dependent on stuff that comes out of China, not just the US, but Europe too, I understand.
Yes.
So we're interconnected, but when wars start breaking out and people are not getting along too well, you can find yourself in a food shortage or this shortage or that shortage, fuel shortage.
That's because we always go for cheaper. Yep. Always go for cheaper. And once you follow the money, you're going to follow yourself right into problems. All the time.
Cheap labor.
That's right. Dr. Paul,
sir.
That Wingman, man, I can't wait to hear about this Wingman you got for me.
Yes. Our Wingman this week is Dr. Christopher Green in Snellville, Georgia, who's a naturopath. I've been seeing him for a lot of years. And that naturopathic medicine is, you call it an alternative form of medicine. Some people believe in it, some people don't. But it's helped me. It's helped me a lot. Many years ago, a good number of years ago, I was really, really, really run down and tired, and I didn't know why. And I was doing everything, and I was getting lots of rest. And no matter how much of it, I was always tired and run down. And I heard this guy on the radio, just driving around in my car, talking about health, nutrition and health. And I was really intrigued by the radio show. And I always wanted, he said, boy, it'd be great. It'd be great if I could go meet him. And I assumed this was coming from California, or on the West Coast somewhere, maybe the East Coast. I really was thinking the West Coast because of his voice. And then there was like a PSA, a commercial, one time after hearing maybe 10, 12 times. And he gave a phone number or whatever. And it was like 45 minutes from me. I thought it was in LA or something. So I got the number, set an appointment, came in. I've been going there for more than a decade, and it's helped me out quite a bit. There's typically naturopaths look at your overall system. I still go to regular doctors, and I use them both. And even the doctors I go to aren't against it at all. In fact, my main physician was familiar with his radio show also. He listened to it. which was really surprising. But yeah, I've been going to see him. He prescribes things that have helped, and their method is to do muscle testing and make small adjustments. Nothing dramatic, but making small adjustments to look at your overall health, how systems interact separately and together. And try
a lot
to have
has to do with what you put in your body, though, right, Doc?
It does. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, good nutrition. Now, my nutrition's been pretty good.
I know, but I'm saying you can't eat like garbage and go see him and expect to feel better.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I won't mention his name, but there's a very popular basketball commentator who's a star in the Hall of Fame. He wakes up in at a Burger King or something every day. He's in his pajamas. Like he eats that all the time. He doesn't eat that all the time. He'd be dead.
I bet you he never ate it.
Agree. They pay him a lot. No, you eat a lot of garbage. Everything is worse. Everything is worse. You don't get to live a long life.
The reason that I was said in the beginning of the show that I can attest to whatever he's doing for you, because if you're doing 500 burpees, if you're doing all the exercises and you tell the truth that you're doing, that is incredible. Because I work out almost every day, 3, 4, 5 times a week. And the exercises you're doing are incredible.
Yeah. So, and I don't think it's all the time.
Be right.
It's once in a while, nothing crazy. Every once in a while I'll kind of go long, but generally they're short, reasonable 30, 45-minute periods of time. We're not trying to be in the Olympics or end up in the emergency room and nothing stupid. I've hurt myself before. I've hurt myself before for periods of weeks. So I know how far I can go, but there are programs you can use to build yourself up. You don't have to be an invalid or totally out of it at the ripe old age of 42, 33, like people I've known. They're shot. Oh, I used to be this, some blah, blah, blah. They're nothing now. You're a long way from 50.
And the real important thing is not cardiovascular so much. And because of my son, the spine surgeon, it's flexibility. It's the ability to do body weight exercises, the ability to use your own body and feel good in your own body.
Right.
Flexibility, he said, is the most important thing. God forbid, older people, when they break a hip, they say they have 5 years to live.
A lot of times,
you need to be flexible. You need to have your balance. All those things are important. Dr. Paul, you're the bomb, brother.
Well,
Can I tell you what Denzel said? Something that really is pretty cool.
Denzel Washington. Oh, what, the actor? Okay, Denzel Washington, the actor. What did he say?
Denzel Washington, the actor, said, "Don't aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference." And Dr. Paul, you make a difference.
And you do too, Mr. Drew.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.